Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to this new edition of the Daily Analysis.
As usual, let's start with a recap of Friday, which basically went by a bit quietly and didn't provide any new indications compared to what we already had.
The markets, in short, continue to be quite strong and are, let's say, working around their highs. I'm referring to the stock markets. And so we have to acknowledge this, even though trading volumes continue to be not particularly high. It seemed like volumes were coming back on Friday, but then this inflow of volume kind of faded away again. The fact remains that the market continues to move sideways. It's basically staying in this sideways range, even though it's at the highs. It's essentially a sideways market that we're working within. Today, from a macroeconomic standpoint, there aren't any particularly significant data releases. In short, the highlight of the week will come later on. I believe that Wednesday will be a particularly important and significant day, mainly because there is the scheduled hearing of Besnament before Congress, specifically regarding certain aspects related to the government's cutback policies. Basically, these are measures intended to recover funds in order to cover the interest expenses that keep rising steadily over time. We'll see in just a bit what the operational implications of all this might be. The quarterly earnings season has also ended, but next week I believe a new cycle of quarterly reports will begin, so everything is being postponed. Volatility is dropping quite noticeably, so we need to adapt to these new scenarios and keep our course steady, paying close attention to the news and statements coming out to the market. The market, in my opinion, is waiting for something that will clarify and dispel some of the doubts about what the future scenarios might be. With that said, let's move on to the operational side, starting as usual with the Nasdaq. Here it is. At the moment, we are working within the BC3 levels. I made a slightly bearish opening, but essentially we're still there with volumes that are really negligible. On the downside, we're monitoring this level here, BC3 21, 680 more or less. On the upside, we are watching this area here with the highs recorded on Thursday, which in my opinion are still valid. Otherwise, a break of this level could lead to a test of this other area here around 21,480 to 21,490, basically remaining in a slightly wider range. We'll see how it goes. The markets are a bit strong right now, so prices keep rising, even if not with excessive volumes. A similar situation for ES as well. It had reached the high we had indicated at 6,800, basically with that spike on Friday afternoon, but then it pulled back. As you can see, still hovering just below that level even now. So let's keep monitoring this entire area on the upside. On the downside, just like for the Nasdaq, we're watching this first BC3 level in the 59.7, 59.9 area, basically with this area where it formed that double bottom. So this other BC3 area between 59.3 and 59.4. Let's take a look at the other two American futures. Here it is. This is the Dow Jones. It too is currently moving within this level, in this BC3 range. On the downside, we need to monitor this entire area here, which corresponds to the area of basically these previous highs with this BC3 zone. So 42.5 is definitely something to keep an eye on, with a possible extension down to this other BC3 level, which also matches these two relative lows recorded here on Thursday. So let's keep an eye on this area here. Let's look at the DAX, which opened actually, the Russell opened first. Here it is, and it's continuing, it's benefiting in terms of relative strength compared to the Nasdaq. You can see how nicely it broke through the previous high at 2,130 already this morning. Since last night, you can see how it's following the movement, because as I've said many times, this was my canary in the coal mine. And I've been hoping for a while that it would regain some strength compared to the two main futures. and it seems like it's starting to gain a bit more direction and is moving along. So right now we've broken through this, let's say, this area that had formed above this other level. We've just broken it. So let's keep an eye out in case it drops back below 2,135, which could bring prices back down to test 2,115. On the other hand, you could also find support at these 2,135 levels and then continue upward, because a retest of the area is possible. Well, we'll see at the open what the developments will be. Let's also take a look clearly. Here it is at oil. So basically it also, well, had this nice surge on Friday and then stayed at these highs. Now it's hovering just below 64.80. The levels have been 64.80 and 64.30. So for now, let's keep an eye on this area here, which lines up with all these highs. So it seems to be right around 63.80 to 64. Obviously, if this level breaks, prices could drop back to the 62.50 area. If this level holds, it could lead to a new, we consider it a test, and so I then expect a breakout above this level. This was oil. Let's move on now to gold. Here it is. It's pulling back a bit from the highs. It settled last night around 3,315. Our most important level is still further down at 3,280, which has acted as support multiple times, so let's always keep an eye on it. Then there are various intermediate steps. 3,315 was one of them. Then we have 3,3 and 3,280, and finally any extension down to 3,270 or 3,250. So let's keep monitoring it. It looks like a small descending channel is probably forming. You can draw it yourselves. Let's quickly plot it from this high to this low and see what comes out of it. So it's a nice little channel we've drawn here just to have a reference point to see if the movement is continuing, or if we should spot a breakout to the upside, a break of this downward move. The SPX is also continuing to work around its highs. So it reached 618 on Friday as the high, then went back to retest this whole area of previous highs that had acted as resistance. So in this case, it served as support 1, 2, 3 times, and now we'll see how the market opens today. At the moment, we can probably assume another test of the 5,990 area or 5,988, and then maybe a possible attempt to break through the all-time highs. We'll see. We still need to look at Bitcoin. Here it is, which in short has recovered from the 100,000 level it went to test on Thursday. It has bounced back significantly and has returned exactly within the range we had drawn. I just need to extend it a bit, otherwise I can't. There we go. We're back there again, and this is still that triangle that had formed, basically is still acting as a dividing line. Now we've gone above it, we've come back to retest it, so at most we can just extend it. Here it is. You can always use it as a reference point. Be careful, watch out, because here it's also possibly shaping up. Let's say this whole shoulder that could trigger a bit more of a downward move. We'll see, but in any case, always use this line we've been drawing for about 10 days now as a reference, since it's acting as a pivot for this whole area. Perfect. With this, we've reached the end of this day analysis. A bit shorter because honestly volumes were low last week and movements were limited, volatility was low, and news is starting to be absorbed by the market with less volatility. So unfortunately, this doesn't leave us with much, really not much to comment on, simply because the movements are really, really small. Perfect. We'll catch up later in the chat. As always, leave a like on the video, follow me on social media, and thank you all for your attention.